One of the things that I like, which what you said is that you came in to add. In other words, you're not a fill-in. You're not trying to replicate. You came in to add your energy, your creativity into the project, and again, giving it your input and your light into what is now this record. When you were recording, though, as we talked about the human element that I feel on this record, did you have times where you would feel that energy overtake you and wonder if you had any guilt because you were realizing the power of this song, the music? Like, did you feel guilty that you were writing something excellent out of this tragic event?
Yeah, that was definitely an emotion.
I don't mean to be an asshole, but my interviews are known for being real, bro.
You're just doing your job. That's fine. That's fine. I think there's definitely an element of that.
Right.
I even like to think that there's some of that in the song. Like, you can maybe kind of hear it in some of the parts. I think there was definitely an element of that. I think I would think about his family, and like when I met his family in the hospital, at the funeral, they were great. They were incredible, and they were really great to me because they knew Adrian and I were so close. And I think that after that, I think about them a lot. I'm like, what would they think of this portrayal of their son, their nephew, their cousin? You know, what would they think about that? And while I don't want that to necessarily didn't want that to shape the record in a way that it would stifle any creativity, because I think that some of the maybe more morbid stuff that Bell Witch does is something Adrian was really into, and I think that he would be honored in that sense that we stayed true to that, and that he was a part of it in a sense. But there was that element of, maybe it's not guilt, but curiosity, pre-guilt curiosity. But I definitely did wonder about that a lot. I mean, maybe you did too. I don't know.
What were your feelings on that?
Can you just rephrase the question real quick?
Well, you're writing this record, and I'm sure prior to the final product, you realized how powerful this record.
I remember. Sorry. I kind of.
Did you feel bad? Like, you know what? We're inspired and we're writing some good shit, but it's after the result of Adrian's passing.
For me, I think the most emotional or like affected part was when we both were having conversations and deciding if or where we were going to add Adrian's vocals. And when we finally had the song all pieced together and like in its final form, we added his vocals, and then we kept listening back to it and having to move it around and be like, is this how Adrian would do it? Yeah. Like, and it was like, I started crying in the sound booth a little bit, and it was like a really hard, bizarre thing that I've never had to do or like witness or watch, And I know Billy Anderson too, he said that when he was doing it, a lot of the edits for that part he was doing, I think at like 4 or 5 in the morning. And he said that he straight up got like haunted by it. Like, he's like, I had to stop for a second. And I think that like that for me is the part that even still, if I decide that I want to listen to it, if I'm in like a sad or bad mood, that part sucks to listen to for me.
Yeah.
A lot.
I think the decision that you made to have his vocals on this not only was a wise decision, but it also goes into the whole spectrum of the music because it incorporates him. And this band will always have his trademark on it.
Absolutely, yeah.
But what I like, which I mentioned in the beginning of this interview, is you've always been breaking new ground. And this could have been a sink or swim situation. And not only did you swim and take it to a whole other level, but what Bell Witch does, you kept it real. And by adding his vocals, it really does bring back that humanistic feeling.
Sure.
But at the same time, it takes it to a whole other realm of the unknown and so forth. And for the listener to interpret. Billy Anderson, let's give him his credit. Master, what excellent hands to have nurturing this record in the studio. Would you agree?
Agreed 100%. He's incredible. He surprises me every time he touches the mixing board. He's great.
He's not of this planet, bro. He's another one from but in a good way.
Definitely. He's wild. He's one of the most talented and smart, intelligent people I've ever met, I think.
Let's talk about happy news now. The live Bell Witch ritual. Tonight you're going to be blessing all these dark souls here in Los Angeles, in this suppressive city. Especially now.
Smoky, man.
So, I'm sure the fires have nothing to do with you being here, but it goes a perfect comparison there. Live rituals. Have you enjoyed doing your performance or your interpretations of these songs in a live setting? Because the studio and the live setting are two different beasts.
I think we try to never go too far in the studio. That's gonna do something we can't recreate live. Of course, there are things like there's some noise tracks, there's some effects on certain things in the record that we can't recreate live. But we've never gone too far that I think it's inappropriate to play live without some of those effects. I think that band's always been, there's been a lot of focus on playing live. So I think when we go into the studio, that's all in mind. Yeah.
You're doing select dates on the West Coast, and then in 2018, Roadburn. Talk to me about that. How do you feel about playing Roadburn? And you're doing 2 dates there.
Yeah, we're doing 2 shows. The first one is, I might have these flip-flopped, but I believe the first one is we're playing Mere Reaper from start to finish, and Eric Mogridge is going to be flying over with us to do his vocal parts. And then the, which is cool because we're playing the whole thing, that's a long set. I've never played a set that long.
Me
The next show will be with Eric as well. There's on each of the 2 full lengths before this one, there's a track that he sang vocals on, and we're going to do both of those tracks for the other set, which will be great. And it'll be our second time playing there, and the first time was really great.
So will you be doing any of that tonight?
We'll be doing the first half of Mere Reaper tonight. So basically everything up until the point that Eric would start singing on the record, we're going to do that tonight.
Let's end it with this type of question. The attention span. Tonight will really separate what is real and who is here for the fashion and whatever else. It takes a real listener of music to not only tie themselves in and go for the Bell Witch ride, but as I'm sure you experience, sooner or later that attention span goes from the non-real fan, the non-real believer, and eventually you yourself get to see that. How is it that you're able to combine everybody in with the amplification ritual and heaviness of Bell Witch?
I can't speak for the audience necessarily, but I guess I can say I've noticed years past the room will usually thin as throughout our set. I would say it's like, oh, we started with maybe 30 people watching, and maybe there's 15 left by the end of the set, which is fine. Expected even, but it's been really cool on this tour. That hasn't been such a thing. Some nights, of course, especially if we're playing last, but it hasn't been such a thing, and I don't really know what it is that does that, I suppose, but it's been happening, and I think it's awesome.
I think it's a good thing, because I think what's happening is that people are diving in and they're going back to the old school ethic of listening to music and digesting music and taking it for a ride. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I was going to add to that as well, that I know that Dylan and I talk about it all the time, but there's the really loud parts, there's the really quiet parts, and it's not every night, but there's some nights where, even more recently, where there's been a really intense turnout. There's been a lot of people at these shows. There's nights where we might have 200, 250 people in a room, and it's silent during that part.
Really cool.
There's other nights where people might heckle a little bit during the quiet parts, or you can hear people drinking and
there's always idiots.
But I think that what I think is cool is that regardless we play through it. But I think that lately, just since the release of this record, the crowds have been very cool, very respectful. The way I look at it is what I do if I'm at a show and I don't like the band that's playing, I go outside. But we've been having really good luck with all that, and it's been really flattering, to be honest. So it's cool.
The heavy amplification meditative ritual of Bell Witch will not only take over Los Angeles tonight, Select dates. Make sure you go on their webpage, check it out. They'll be touring up and down the West Coast. 2018, they'll be going off to Europe. For those of you that'll be at Roadburn, you lucky motherfuckers, you're going to get to enjoy a magnificent show. Mirror Reaper out now on Profound Lord Records. Let me just say this. There are those that talk the talk, and then there are those that don't walk the walk. They just do it. They go and they get it done. It takes a lot to be dedicated to being someone who is going to be in a relationship with channeling the spirits to write real human music. Throw that into the mix, some of the tragic events of life, because that's what life is, good and bad. And to be able to not only turn that into gold and persevere and again create on a whole other level a new masterpiece really says a lot about this deal. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
Thanks, man.
And final words. Rest in peace, Adrian Guerrera. Did I pronounce that right? Guerrera?
Yeah, you got it.
Rest in peace, Adrian Guerrera. 5150, and we're out.